Okay. Yeah. Welcome back to the Creatives POV podcast. I'm Noah.
Ethan.
Marquis.
And today we got the legend, Brandon Bair, in the building. And I'm not even going to try and introduce this guy because he's a jack of all trades. So we're just going to let him do his thing. So tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to be here. My name is Brandon Bair. I grew up in Des Moines, Iowa, and I now live in Brooklyn, New York, which has been really cool and really fun. So yeah, I don't know. I just do a little bit of everything. I talked to Noah before the show, and he asked me like what the title would be, and I was like, dude, I just do everything, you know? So
yeah,
a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Okay. So you grew up in Iowa, right?
Yeah, born and raised.
Okay. And Norwalk, is that?
yeah.
To be precise?
That is it.
Okay. So what was it like growing up in Iowa as a creative? Is it challenging?
Of course. I mean, it's like Iowa's not an incubator for creative. Like, it's just not. And I think that was the point of us early trying to build that scene and like connecting with the right people, because we just feel like it wasn't here. So yeah, it was tough. I mean, my school I went to was very sports oriented, Friday Night Lights type shit, you know? So for me, it was always a challenge, but also really fulfilling because there was just a blank canvas. We could do anything we wanted. There was like no rules. So yeah, early on, I definitely recognized that and tried to do what we could to
what kind of avenues of creativity like are you in, and did you explore growing up in Iowa?
My mom put a camera in my hand early, like a video camera. I just loved looking through the lens and like, you know, directing and doing whatever. I got into stop motion really early, just exploring. It was fun. And then I think when I realized you could get serious with it, I was watching this guy on YouTube, Casey Neistat, and he was just a huge influence for me early. Yeah. And to see what he was doing, and I'd never been to New York. I didn't know what that lifestyle was and what exact story he was telling, but I was compelled by the consistency and his ability to storytell. So I started emulating that really early. And then I looked more into what he was influenced by, which is like Tom Sachs, who's a legendary New York guy, and kind of went from there. And that just inspired everything that we did for, you know, the past 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
Did you see any challenges with being in Iowa as a creative?
I wouldn't call it a challenge. I mean, it was a challenge in retrospect, but it was more ignorance. I just didn't know.
Okay.
Like, I wasn't ever exposed to it. Like, no one was doing a podcast
Right.
at the time. No one was like daily vlogging. And like, that was tough for me as a junior in high school who like showed these interests. And it wasn't like well received because it's like, oh, why are you not playing sports or like in, you know, choir or band, or even like the arts department was really underfunded and not inspired. And yeah, just like from there, I just realized like I could do whatever I wanted to do. So that in itself was a challenge, but no, I never felt like there wasn't anything I couldn't do. I still feel that way.
Yeah.
So
Who are some creatives in Iowa that kind of helped push you and encourage you to keep bringing out that creative side growing up?
I really like felt like a lone wolf for the longest time because in Norwalk specifically, there just wasn't that scene there. The first time I felt the breakthrough with it was I got the opportunity to do photography for 515 Alive. I met Tobias, my boy, and that was like when I realized like, oh, there's other people doing this, and I can go outside of the suburban city limits and like explore this even more. And yeah, just from there we started making stuff. We started with his project Vibe, which was dope because it was like the first time me, Sekou, and Tobias got together to like make a project, and then I convinced them to get in a car with me and drive to the California desert and like shoot a movie. So it was just like this on ramp that we went on, and yeah, so definitely those guys.
Yeah. Okay, so as someone who is from Iowa, like, what are your thoughts on the Des Moines creative community as a whole?
It's better now. It was weird at first. There was a lot of insecurity, and I felt like nobody really knew what was going on, but like everybody wanted to be involved, but like there just wasn't the infrastructure, you know? And like I think that's why this podcast is great that you guys are doing it, because like it needs something like this. People need to be able to talk and like hear other people's experiences, especially coming from here, because like we just don't have the infrastructure, you know? So we have to build it. And that's been a big thing for me. So yeah. What do you think Des Moines is missing in terms of the creative field? I think there's so much creative energy here. I just don't think we've figured out how to monetize it and like turn it and like commercialize it. And I don't think that's anybody's fault. It's just what it is. Like I didn't know anything about the business until I got into it in a bigger city between San Francisco and LA and now New York. So for me, it's just like, would you even know what a contract looks like if you like needed to look at it? Did you know how to call an entertainment lawyer and like what questions to ask? Like, I just think we're there and the outlets don't exist. So for me, it's just like, there's so much creative energy, but what are we doing with it? And how do we like expand and grow and like make this place, put a spotlight on this place? Cause I just don't think it exists right now.
Yeah. Do you think it's like, we just don't have a market too? Like we don't have like any.
I don't think we did 5 years ago. Like I think maybe we're getting closer. You know, Live Nation is building a great venue on Milwaukee, which I think is going to help. I mean, what like B Well is doing in the city, I think is big and like structured. Fly Life and his crew, like this, like all of it. Like it's getting closer. It's just a matter of like not feeling confined to being the thing here. You know, like my biggest thing is when we did AV Club, I felt like it was new and fresh, but like really quickly it just became the program because it was the only one that existed. So it's like you can be a big fish in a small pond, but like after a while there's nothing left. So it's just continuously pushing each other and not being complacent. I think that's the biggest thing right now.
We just talked on our last guest that we had on about like if you put a shark in a small fish tank, they're only going to grow like so big.
Yeah, exactly.
But then if you release that shark into the ocean, they're going to grow to be like 20 feet, you know? So,
yeah, and it's a fight. It's like to live in the ocean, it's a whole different thing. And I think people should like experience that and get out and then reapply that here. Because this is a special place. Like this is not nowhere, even though it might feel like that sometimes. And like, we just need more collective effort to make it a thing. You know, like more and more artists are coming. I remember when Drake came here in 2016, that was like a big deal for like me and like everyone around me because that just never happened. There wasn't a hip hop act that was selling out Wells Fargo Arena. And like, it sucks because it doesn't happen enough. And I think it could and will. And it's just like, who's going to be the one to really push that forward? You know?
So what led you out of Iowa?
I mean, if I was talking to my therapist, I'd say fear. I think I was just scared, but like I knew that I wanted more and whatever I was getting here wasn't fulfilling. And, you know, to be fair, I haven't been here for like 5 years. So I'm kind of speaking out of turn a little bit in terms of like what things are like now. But at the time, I knew what I wanted to do and I didn't feel like I could do it here. Yeah. So I just needed to explore and I just hit road, took a risk.
Was that right out of high school that you took off or did you end up going to college or?
I didn't go to college. I made a very intentional decision to not go to college. Almost in a rebellious way, but I think it worked out. I just knew that like my personality, it wasn't going to be beneficial. And I had a pretty clear vision of what I wanted to do. So yeah, let's see, I graduated 2016. I was gone by 2018. So I had a couple years here, like really giving it a go. But for the most part, yeah, it was like pretty quick. I think I was 20 when I left.
During that time, what were you exploring, like finding your creative outlet? Like what were you doing projects wise?
Yeah, so I didn't go to college, but like I've always said, my tuition was going to shows and like traveling and like doing that. It's like I just spent all my money going to festivals and art exhibits and things like just trying to learn and like be a sponge. So I would take that and reapply it. Like I went to Frank Ocean's show in New York in 2017 and I had the opportunity to take some like really good 35 millimeter photos of him and share those online. And like that just kind of helped create like a new demographic that was interested in my work. Also showing me that I could access other markets and do other things. But yeah, I took that and reapplied it. We did AV Club, which was like heavily inspired by Tom Sachs and his work. I got back in the workshop. My grandfather, used to have a woodshed in his backyard at his house, and he would take me out there and he'd build like bird houses and toys and things. And I appreciate that, but I was like, I want to do like design and like better things. So yeah, I started like building furniture and designing things, and through that aesthetic, we created new like programming. So that's like where the From the Workshop aesthetics came from. AV Club was just like based out of live from the workshop, like kind of thing. So it was this just energy, this machine that was kind of self-fulfilling at the time, because I knew that like we could create New York, LA level content and like work, and it didn't matter if we're doing it in the corner of my mom's garage, because like it still looked like an HBO movie, and that was the biggest thing. So.
I think I've heard that, like, and I've only been in Iowa, like, or in Des Moines for about a year, but like I've heard that a lot where people are like, yeah, it's like the Des Moines creative community is like growing, and then it's always like either followed or overshadowed. It's big for Iowa, or like it's big for the Midwest or something like that. It's like, man, like honestly, Des Moines, like the creative community is big for anywhere. Like honestly, like the roots are deep and like it's only growing. And I think that's just like the thing that overshadows so much is like, oh, it's Iowa, it's cornfields. And it's like, yeah, but there's like, you take some of the art that like local creatives have created and put it in a, like we talked with Riley Smith, like she placed in the top 4 in the US for her fashion design. It's like, see, that's big for anywhere. And it came from Ames, Iowa.
Yeah, she knows what she's doing.
Exactly.
Her work's dope. She has the finger on the pulse of like what's cool. Like
Exactly.
Amy Leon
So
Dore in
many
New York is like the next thing, and she knows it.
Yeah.
And that's so cool to me because again, like we don't have a Louis store. Maybe we do now. I don't think so. We don't have like high fashion here. We're not exposed to it, right? Like to us, fashion is Champion hoodies and Levi jeans, and like there's something magical about that, of course. But the limited exposure to it, I think, is tough. But there's still good things here. I mean, half of my whole thing now is people just don't believe I'm from Iowa. It's like you grew up there, and like now you're doing these things, and I almost think it's a superpower in a way. Like
100%.
We didn't spend our weekends in the Hamptons, right? Like we didn't we don't have those luxuries, and like what we were exposed to is because we were curious about it and not because somebody fed it to us. And I think that's so important for like what's being made here. I think we can do even more and take it to a level where it's like, Iowa, the jokes and whatever it is, cornfields, but like look what we're doing. Because like this didn't exist before and we had to make it. And like I don't know who it's going to be or when it's going to happen, but somebody's going to figure it out and like turn this place into a that.
Would you say like as someone who came from Iowa, was there like a hypothetical chip on your shoulder as a creative being like, like I'm going to prove myself in a bigger pond like New York? I
only had stuff to prove to myself. I mean, maybe when I was younger and more insecure, like I felt like I had to prove it to the world and especially the people here. Cause like, I just felt like we were doing the most important work at the time. So like, obviously it was like, look at us and look what we're doing. But as time has gone on, it's like, it doesn't really matter. Like make good stuff and like, figure it out. Otherwise it just doesn't matter. No one's going to know. I could have died here and no one would know. And like that scared me enough. So I mean, a chip on the shoulder, sure. I probably still have a bunch, but yeah.
How has New York helped shape your creativity?
I mean, so much. It's because there's proximity to it. I mean, it's around me all the time, right? You get on the subway, you see people, like exploring their fashion or even just the like, people are alive there. And like that gives its own aesthetic and breeds its own aesthetic. Like, I think that being around that is so vital because I wasn't, growing up. So between that and then I'm really lucky to, have people in the industry and business that are pretty integrated. I get exposure at levels that like I never really would have thought at this point. And like that's been a blessing too, because then I just feel like I can play ball now, It's
cool.
So
you kind of skipping back, you said you started out kind of like taking photos at like 515 Alive.
Yeah.
And like music festivals, stuff like that. So is that kind of what propelled you into the music industry a little bit and some of the work you did?
All that was like super important because like I didn't realize this until honestly the past few years, but again, we're not exposed to those things. So if there's a festival here and you get an opportunity to shoot it, like you get to see the logistics of how a festival is or like the structure or what a credential is and all that. And like, it didn't mean much at the time because I didn't understand what it would feed into later. But I mean, that was big, like knowing how to move in those rooms and like how to act and how to perform at that level is like been super important for me. Even now, I don't do photography nearly as much. I mean, really at all. Compared to what I used to, but I still apply those things to this day for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So then, tell us like, if you're not doing like a lot of photography, are you doing a lot of like filmmaking or like you're a music manager, right?
Yeah. I'm currently managing a few artists. I got a couple in Nashville, one in New York. But I still like feel like I'm a creative first. Like I love visual work. Period. It's like what we did. So mostly only do it for my own brands, like especially from the workshop right now. But I try to do it. I wish I did it more. So
Tell us what it's like being like a young manager. You're 24?
25.
25. So tell us what it's like being a 25-year-old manager.
Yeah, it's something I never really would have thought that I would do. And something I found that I had a knack for. I didn't even know it. It's good. It's really just about working hard, Like, the age thing is jarring to some people, but I think most people understand and recognize what hard work can do and what it means. And like,
absolutely,
all those values and things I learned along the way were definitely applied now. So it's been fun. I've had to learn the business in the past year or two, like flowing through. I've had really great mentors and opportunities with who I work with, and it's been a blast.
What led to you becoming a manager? Like, how'd that all come?
That's a good
fruition?
question. I mean, it's like I wish there was a perfect answer, but it's really been just like chipping away, you know? So
because is that what you wanted? Is that what you had in your?
No, I never knew it, and I probably wouldn't even do it with anybody else. Like, you know, just because I just feel like there's more. Like, I feel like I can do more. But like I said, I could do anything. I really feel that way. So what led me to it was shooting festivals, you know, and like understanding that space. And then my good friend, Millie McCoy, who lives in LA, he started a manufacturing company. And he was doing Action Bronson's merchandise.
Okay.
So he was like making the hoodies and the t-shirts for Action. And I had some understanding of the music business and the space and logistics from other things that I've worked on. And Action was going on tour, so they needed someone to kind of help handle that and come on. So I was just selling t-shirts, man. I went on tour with those three guys, and we sold t-shirts for like 36 days. And by the end of it, I had a good rapport, and like I owe Action a lot for kind of giving me an opportunity to work really hard. So I definitely didn't like go into that situation thinking like that would be the outcome. It just worked out that way.
That's dope. That's really dope.
Who are some other artists besides like Action that you're like kind of managing right now, overseeing?
So I have two guys in Nashville. They're developing Sincere Hunt and Savvy. It's kind of my new thing that I've been working on. They're guys that like have been on my radar for the past few years, but again, I didn't have the tool belt to know what I could do or what I could help with them. And we just decided like they're at the point now where, you know, they're making money, making art, and I felt like a management role would be helpful to them. So we've been working.
What does it even look like to be a manager? Like, are you scheduling shows for them, like selling merch, getting that, you know what I mean? Like just
I mean, it's a little bit of everything, and it depends at like what level you're at. So like at a higher level, you know, artists will have agents and other people on their team that are handling booking, and that might just be only international or only domestic, or we have people who work on our branding side. With a smaller artist, it is a lot more fully encompassing. You know, you have to, some days you're their assistant, some days you're their therapist, some days you're like, you're negotiating contracts or making sure we're getting paid. So it's really just like someone who understands the business and also understands the artist and can help communicate that to whoever, whether it's a promoter or a venue or, you know, another artist, you know, so.
Yeah. What does a typical week look like for you right now?
Right now, again, it's just like, it's so different. I'm lucky for that, because like my days aren't the same. It's not like I have structured hours, you know, we're like working on a lot of different projects. So, you know, I could be running around, we could be doing the TV show or working on collaborative releases or anything. It's kind of a mixed bag of stuff.
Yeah.
Making that initial connection, I'm sure, is highly based on like relationship. How do you normally go about
selling
making
t-shirts? You know what I mean? Like, of course you need the in, but that's the thing is like, I think people assume that it's this strategic chess game that only certain people, and you just get really lucky. Of course I'm lucky, but like I worked really hard to like understand that space and know how to be reliable and work hard. Like there was a kid we did a show in Atlanta last year, and there was a kid outside the show just kind of hanging out, and he asked me and the team like, how did you get this opportunity? And I was like, there's not like a path, there's no A to Z to like tell you how to get right here, but like someday you'll be in front of an opportunity like this, and it's just up to you on how you take advantage of that. And like I've had other opportunities that I thought was the one, you know, like I've met people after shows or just in passing and like thought this is gonna turn into what it is, and it just like you don't know. And when it happens, it's like almost never the way you think. You just have to be ready for it, you know. Like I spent that whole tour just preparing for the opportunity of what might come at the end of it, but I just worked really hard. So
that's dope.
Yeah.
How do you make connections now with other artists or other creatives?
Again, I'm really blessed because I'm just in an environment where it's all the time.
Cool.
You know, we're always doing new shows. We're always, you know, going to pop-ups, or even just in my personal life, living in New York, it's super easy. You're always around creative people or people in the business and who are interested in what you're doing. And I'm way more lucky for that now. But you just got to be open to it, really. You just have to you have to be willing to make that connection. I think that's a lot of people's problems. They get in their own way or they like overdo it. It's like, if you're working hard and you're talented, you're fine. And I think working hard is way more important than being talented. Yeah.
Yeah. Who are some people you've met while you've been out in New York that are kind of like in your circle, like helping you with things, like inspiring you, keeping you going?
Yeah, I mean, I still feel kind of new out there. I moved there officially like early last year, but we're on the road so much that it's like been kind of tough.
Yeah. So
I rely a lot on the people I know, like already knew before for inspiration. Sekou, Tobias, I'm on the phone with weekly. My good friend Alex fell out in LA, and what he's doing is like still inspiring me. And for me, it's like, that's so key, I think, to staying true to what you're doing. Like, I still come back here and shoot the lookbook for From the Workshop and all, and like we use all the same people. Like Sekou's the star, you know, because he was in all the movies we were making, and like Tobias is still helping me on the technical side, and that's, to me, that's just how it should be.
Yeah,
it's more homegrown.
What is it like going on tour? You've been talking about going on tour, stuff like that. What is that life like?
It's like what you think it is, except it's like also not, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you think that it's just you're up late and you're out and there's this like party thing, but you're just working. You know, we're in venues until midnight, 1 a.m, and then we got to get on a plane at 7, you know? So it's like, it's just work, but it's really special. You get to see a lot of places, you meet a lot of different people, and you know, it does become very family oriented because you're around the same people. And once you understand the structure of it, you know, you have a tour manager, you know, typically the like manager, the artist, the DJs, the merch people. There's a lot of people that go into making those things happen. And by the end of it, it's a sort of an emotional thing because you're like, that we just spent a month of our lives together, like every day, you know, experiencing it. So I love touring. It's something that I wish I would have figured out how to do earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have any like crazy stories or experiences specifically that you want to share?
I mean, of course, there's like a few things that come to mind, but it's pretty tame. I mean, the coolest thing for me is just seeing the people, to like see the other side of the operation. Because I've been to so many shows, I've done so many things like as a fan and a consumer. And then to see the other side of it is like the most fulfilling thing to me. Yeah. You know, to see how excited people get and they're like just hyped to be there, and they save their hard-earned money to like for this moment. Yeah, that's always like the coolest thing. Of course, there's some late nights and some other things. But.
What's like the best country that you visited touring?
Best country?
Yeah.
I've been to a couple weird ones. Like I've been to Albania. That was a beautiful place. You know, Europe in general is really good. I love London because it's like New York. It's like familiar enough, but it's just like different. It's cool. It's fun to indulge in these different places and do more things. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you want to go?
Yeah. Outside of
go
music
ahead.
management, what are you exploring in your free time when you're not on tour?
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to get way more into design and creative like I was, and it's not to knock that, it's just like kind of where I'm at currently. So I haven't done a music video in years. I'd love to do another music video. I'm always designing chairs, but I need to, you know, actually build them and like create the product. So between that and like From the Workshop as a brand, it's taken most of my free time, if there is any, but yeah, mostly that.
So From the Workshop, like tell us about the origins of it. I know you mentioned the workshop is, you said your grandpa's workshop?
Yeah, my grandfather used to have a workshop in his backyard when I was little. So that's definitely the origin of it, and just my ability and desire to craft things and understand the processes of that. And really, I just fell in love with the aesthetics of it, you know? And like, I think there's a testament to that. Like, again, Tom Sachs has been a big influence for even what Virgil does and what he's inspired by, I think came into play there. So for me, like, workshop was just... it was cool to me. I was like, we should film this and like turn it into a thing. And now we're getting into fashion and doing more with that and like trying to create pieces and figure out other ways to like introduce workshop mentality and aesthetics into just like everything you do.
Do you have a timeline for when like clothing might drop and when you might be like taking it up to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm trying to do like yearly. If I could do seasonally, that'd be great. So we're working on a new collection now. You know, would it be like the first toe in the water to doing actual pieces like cargo pants and jackets and gloves and like all that stuff, which typically we've just found ourselves doing like t-shirts, which is like really good. as a starting point. But luckily I have the resource, like Miller McCoy again in LA. He's just this genius and this really ambitious kid that knows how to do cut and sew, like high fashion stuff. So he's been a big influence and resource for me on like shifting into the fashion world.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about him a little bit, kind of like a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago. And is he from Iowa too originally?
Yes, from West Des Moines.
Okay. And so did y'all connect through festivals too? Or how did you make that?
I like always knew who Miller was. We just had mutual friends. Alex Fell was the biggest one. And we just were kind of always in proximity and like in each other's network, but never found what was going to bring it together and tie it together. And then it ended up just being this Action Bronson opportunity that did that for us. So
that's dope.
But he's from here. Yeah, he's an Iowa boy too.
That's crazy. We were trying to get him on a few weeks ago, but he had surgery. So it was kind of tough.
Yeah.
But
just someday, like he'll be around. I think it'd be a great show.
Yeah. So in terms of like the style of like your clothes that you're thinking about dropping, like that are in the works, is it kind of like a Carhartt like aesthetic?
I mean, of course, like that's an easy reference point. I think like for me, it's function and form is what creates the fashion for like what I'm trying to do. So it's really just like, what would I want to wear while building a chair? Like, and it's just like, what is that? So that's kind of what we've been working on. But, you know, it's also like hip hop music and the culture inspires it too. You know, like New York, it's just like baggy pants and baggy clothes and like, you know, Air Force Ones or New Balance 550s or like whatever. So I'm just taking inspiration from everywhere right now. But mostly it's like workwear that could be fashionable and fun, like functionable. Yeah.
Where do you get your design? Where do your designs come from for your chairs? Like what inspires you when you're designing a chair?
I wish I was better versed at like the history of like Herman Miller and Knoll and like all these legendary designers. I'm trying to get there. I have friends who work in that space and like I see what the, you know, they have in their collections and stuff. But for me, it's just like, what do I think is like true to me and like the materials I want to use, and then utilizing it in a different way or like in a different form. You know, like this was the first chair I ever designed, and I just wanted something that like would look good in a corner that you could throw a jacket on. You know, it's like not a comfortable chair at all.
Do you still have that chair?
I don't know. I definitely didn't sell it. I probably just left it at my mom's house. I don't know. It's probably somewhere in the basement. Dope. Yeah, but yeah, I mean everywhere. I've just like when we're on tour, I'm in a hotel room chilling. Like I'll just doodle on the little pad in the room and like think about what's inspiring me at that time. Like I'd love to do stuff with mirrors and glass and acrylic. Like that would be new for me because everything's mostly been just like plywood. 3/4 inch plywood has like been my thing. So yeah.
Who else is inspiring you? Like you said, Tom Sachs is one of them. Who are some other artists, creatives, brands, people out there?
For me, like right now, it's what Dave Free and Kendrick are doing with PG Lang and like Baby Keem. Like I just think that's the blueprint for where things are going visually and like as an artist brand. I've seen what they do live and all flowing through. Donald Glover's always been a big influence. Childish Gambino, like what they were doing. Less so now. Like I know he started a new thing called Gilga. Like we'll see what it does. But yeah, Dave Free's like a big one. I'm sure I could think of more. Just drawing a blank.
Yeah. What fuels your creativity? Like what keeps you up at night? Because when I'm in a creative mood, I can't sleep, you know?
Yeah. Fear. Again, it's like fear. It's just like I feel like I have so much to do and so much that I want to give to the world. And like if I lost that opportunity tonight or tomorrow, I would really feel that. And it's just it's we don't have much time. All we really have is like right now, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Have you if you could give any advice to your younger self, your 18-year-old self, what would it be?
That's a good question. Keep going. Like, don't question whatever the driving force is. It's like a moth to a flame, you know? Like, we're just hoping it's the right light, I guess. And I got lucky enough and worked hard enough and like found myself in a situation where it'd be hard for me to say I want to change anything. But I think to accelerate that, like, just get out of your own way. Like there's opportunity everywhere. Like you just have to find it and like put yourself there. Like knowing what I know now, I would get involved in the business way earlier. You know, I would go work at shows or work at venues or do more outreach with my creative and take more risk because it's like, it doesn't matter, you know, like just if you're making something you love and you're proud of it, you should give it give it to the world, like as soon as possible. Just, you know, why wait?
Yeah.
You know? And I think a lot of the times, I have a movie. We made a movie in California that like I still haven't finished. Like, and I hate that because it's like for what? You know, it's just in a vault. And I think just output is important.
Do you have a plan to finish that movie?
Now it's like I just see it as a bottle of wine on a shelf. It's like, how old can it get? You know, because I was 19 in that movie. Like, it was the first thing we did that felt like intentional with like purpose and was in a different place. So to me, it'd be really dope if I'm like 30, 35 and I put that thing out and it's just me as a kid and like all my fear and insecurities, you know, packaged into this screenplay that we did. So
and Sekou and Tobias.
Sekou's a star. Yeah, Tobias was in it too. That was it. We just like wanted to make something and they were down for it somehow, some way. And you know, we contributed all to this really like beautiful thing in Joshua Tree in 2017, you know, so it'll come out, I think.
What was the concept and idea behind it? Do you remember that?
Yeah, no, of course. It's always a girl, right? So, I like finished a situation. I was in a situation with a girl, I was really into it, didn't work out, and I just needed an outlet. So I felt like the desert was a really good metaphor for how I was feeling because I was a young kid, dumb, and just like, you know, I was like heartbroken. So I wrote this screenplay about it, and we made it. So basically, it's just about like feeling alone and like vastness and emptiness, but also like the beauty around you and like how to be in tune with it and stuff like that. That's a really pretentious way of saying it, but yeah.
So aside from like design and carpentry and also screenplay writing, what are other avenues of creativity that you like feel like you come alive in or that like just fuel you or inspire you?
I mean, anything visual film wise, it just taps into whatever happened when my mom handed me that camera when I was a kid. Like, I just love it. Yeah. Like shooting from the workshop stuff is always the most fulfilling thing I do in current time because like I know what I'm trying to give and like make and create, and when I am able to capture that through a lens, it's the most rewarding thing ever. So that's the big thing. But like I would love to do pottery, you know, and like get into that or focus more on what writing could look like. I mean, everything we do has a layer to it, and like, you know, we try to keep it really diverse in the mediums we use to like tell the story of whatever it is. So
do you remember the camera that your mom got you?
Yeah, so I mean, she had like a Sony. It was like you had to hold it like this, and it was a VHS tape one.
Yeah,
I wish I knew the model. Yeah, but it was
my
that.
uncle had one.
Yeah, it was very popular, and it had this crazy optical zoom, so you could zoom in super far, which is dope because like that's a thing now. Like every Kendrick video is just like them going from 2 miles away. So it was that, and then when I first like made the investment for myself, I detasseled corn. I don't know, have you guys done that?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're all Iowa kids.
Exactly.
Illinois,
right?
Iowa
like
kids.
First job, right? You get on the bus at 4 a.m. You go up there and you're just pulling the corn in the morning. Yep. So like, after a season, you make $500, $600. How about a Canon T3i with a kit lens and just started with that. Yeah. So that was where I started. It's evolved. And like, even now, like at a professional level, I realize that there's different tools for different stuff, but mostly I drive a Sony A7S III right now.
So it was quite a while ago, but do you remember the first thing you shot?
First thing I shot, I mean, I was definitely just like taking photos, trying to get the background as blurry as possible because like you couldn't do that with anything else at the time. I was just like obsessed with the idea of like, oh, this is cinema and this is like what it's supposed to look like. Probably just random photos of stuff. They took photos of cars. I think everybody starts taking photos of cars in high school, like to some capacity. Movie-wise, I made a thing called Dormant, which was like the first thing I tried to like write a screenplay, shoot it. I was in it. It's still on the internet somewhere. And that was like the first movie I think I made independently, like as myself. Yeah.
Do you have any screenplays that you've written or ideas that you kind of want to film? Like if you can go film right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of stuff like premises and ideas. Or I got a few things on a Google Drive, I'm sure, that I could turn into something, but nothing in the works. Yeah.
What do you make of this like kind of nostalgic film aesthetic coming back into relevance and being a thing?
As with all things, like after a while it gets played out, you know, like everyone was putting grain on their photos at one point. Like I think people are moving away. Direct flash photography was huge. And like now I think people are trying to find the new thing. Like I love that. Like I think analog anything is important and like makes sense, like why people are drawn to it. Because some digital stuff just feels really cold and like lacks life. But to me, it's like, what are you doing? Are you just trying to make something that looks like a Wes Anderson film, or like, are you actually telling a story? You know, so it just depends. I've seen really dry stuff that was phenomenal because it just it had intention. You know,
yeah. Where do you see like kind of like the new wave going in terms of like music, fashion, creative? Like, what's the new thing that you see on the horizon?
I think it's like independent, small team creators. Like you don't need the infrastructure you used to need. You know, you can make an incredible film all on your iPhone. And like that's 5 or 10 years now we've figured that out. And I think that's why like you see things like TikTok and Instagram and like people just are creative and like they make stuff because they have the tools now. And I think that'll translate too into more commercialized and professional work where it's like you don't need a 50-man crew and like a crazy budget to make something really compelling. Like we went to the desert and made a movie that I would stand by, you know, for the rest of my life because like we just did it with intention. So
yeah. How do you think social media has affected you as a creative and what you do?
Man, I had to face this really up front with this last workshop release because like I used to talk to Tobias about how the future was Twitter videos because they were 2 minutes long when everyone was making 5-minute videos, which felt short at the time because like we were used to watching 10-minute content.
Right.
So I was always like, yo, the videos are a minute, maybe even 30 seconds. And like, that's what it is, like shot like this. And then when we put out the workshop collection late last year, even I didn't have the attention span to like watch a 30-minute thing or a 30-second thing on Instagram. Yeah. So it's like, we've just diluted our attention span to this point where like you have 4 to 5 seconds to like catch a viewer. Maybe they stick around after, but like that's the window. Yeah. And you have to adapt to that. Otherwise, I think you'll fall behind. And it sucks. Like I was talking to Alex Fell. He was like helping me with the last stuff. And I was like, dude, I think we need to shoot it vertically or like at least frame it so we have that protected. And he's like, nah, dude, because it's like there's so much beauty in this frame. Yeah. And we just had that kind of internal conflict as the team where it was like, yeah, it sucks because like what we know is wide 16:9 format, but like it's just not what it is anymore.
Yeah. I think it's sad. Yeah, I mean, like, who was it? You that I was talking with the other day? I can't remember if it was you or another creative, but like, there's a trend going on where it's like the flip your screen sideways thing.
Got it. That's never good though.
I know it never is. That's the
never
problem.
Good. Especially when
like,
you have the thing at the beginning where it's like flip your screen. It's
exactly.
Like,
the
what
format
are we doing?
is not built for it.
Yeah. So like my thing with that is like embrace it. We're gonna use our phones like this. Yeah. But there can always be another thing.
10 years from now, they'll go back to horror.
Yeah, it's gonna be retro.
I made like a short film like video and framed it all to 16:9. But I'm like looking at them like, man, there's so much detail and there's context.
Yeah, the context matters.
Yeah. You know, like there's just more context to be like, oh, like where this is framed and like why it's framed. There's, you know, like depth in front of it or something that's just like framing it right. Yeah. And you don't get that with the vertical now because everything is just tighter.
Well, the thing was like intimate. When I was first making YouTube videos in like 2008, you could upload only in 4:3.
Yeah.
And it's like all of a sudden 16:9 felt like you're watching a movie on like the internet, which was new. At least it felt new to me at the time. But that like happened really seamlessly. The same way Apple took out the headphone jack and like we don't think about it anymore. So it's like my niece and nephew aren't gonna care that it's like you're watching content like this because they're just going. Yeah. So it's like, I just feel old. You know, it's like, but like you said, the nostalgia factor, it's gonna come back.
Yeah,
like we'll find a way. Yeah.
And I don't know because I'm a movie junkie.
Yeah.
And I think about it all the time. It's like, am I gonna walk in a movie theater in the next year and Dune 3 or something is vertical?
And it's like that.
I saw it.
I would be so pissed
theater off. Like on, I think it was TikTok or something that like it's got a screen that's like reaches the floor and like the seats are like tilted down and it like you look up and down and it's like vertical. I was just like, that's wild. Like that blows my mind.
That's crazy.
That would change the game on how like people shoot movies, how people do all that.
And I think it's all subjective, but like I think social media made it for it because
the iPhone,
you know, like the phone is built like this, and it's also the convenience factor where like the attention span is just like, oh, I don't like it, I'm just gonna scroll. My thumb's just constantly doing that.
I mean, even the iPad, I feel like when the first iPad came out, there was always an initiative to like, but you can also use it like this, but nobody ever did. Like, when did you ever type on an iPad like this?
Right.
You know, so it's like, I think it was a natural like intuition of people to just like, this made the most sense. Like, I remember when Snapchat stories came out, I started making just like little movies, like piecing them together and putting on Snapchat stories because I felt like that was really compelling. And I told Alex Fell, and I was like, dude, I think shooting in vertical is like the next thing. He's like, you're an idiot. Like, that doesn't make any sense. This was in 2016. And sure enough, like now it's all we do, you know? And even like the new Sony cameras, they have new guides like specified for vertical. The Ronin will rotate vertical. Like, it's just, it's where we're at, you know? So
even the
adapt or die.
GH5s and the S5 IIs,
and
Panasonics. They shoot 9x16 internally. It's wild.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's crazy how fast things come and go and how fast things change.
But the thing is, they come back. I mean, like, look at baggy clothes, look at the mullet.
Yeah.
You know, all it is a matter of time.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I think the reason there's that cycle is because we want the same thing we grew up on. So by the time you're old enough to be that, you just like go back to what you know. And that's why there's
got to be something psychological about
I
it.
feel like for me, it's like something that really inspires me is like that nostalgic feeling. So like I love like looking back at past decades, like, and I talk about it all the time, but like the 80s are like a decade that I wish I grew up in sometimes. Like I wouldn't, you know, want it any other way. Like I'm glad to be here, but like that era just inspires me. And it's like nostalgia to me is like a drug because it's like, it makes you want to like relive this feeling, you know? And it's a drug that's legal. Like, you know, it's like, there's not laws on it. You can go back and you can like get this caught up in these old feelings, right? Yeah. It's kind of a crazy concept
trying
to
to
me,
get
man.
that
Like
hit of dopamine of like what actually you enjoyed, you know, I don't know, at a time where maybe there was a different level of innocence to your like childhood.
Yeah. Man, it's crazy, bro.
I was thinking the other day, I tweeted it too, where it was like, we just grow up and we don't talk about it. Like next thing you're just like 25, 30, 40, like, and we just don't ever talk about it. Like I was a kid once and like I had specific interests and I like had dreams and ideas and like all that. And we just like never talk about our childhoods after you grow up. And I think that's so weird.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of had a similar realization. I was just talking with a friend, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm turning 40 soon." And I'm just like, "I'm gonna turn 40 someday."
Yeah,
like it's just like weird to think about. It's like, man, like, and I'm gonna look back and like maybe I'm gonna rewatch this podcast someday and just be like, "What the heck was I doing?" You know. But also at the same time, be like, man, like those. I don't know. I see this hat going around. I see this ad all the time where it's like, we're living in the like the good old days or something like that on the hat. And it's just like, yeah, like someday we're just going to look back and be like, man, like, did we cherish those moments? And we don't talk about it enough.
That's why you have to do what you are compelled to do. There's no time to waste. Like all we have is right now. That's it. Like we don't know.
Yeah. I think people get caught up in a cycle of, you know, wake up, go to work, go home, take care of the kids, go to bed and continue to do the same thing that they just forget.
It's tragic. I mean, there's reality to it. I get it. You know, it's like that's life and nature. But if you can do anything, you should do it.
Yeah, you know? 100% agree.
Another thing that's crazy to me is like, I graduated high school in 2019, and it's like some of these people I went to high school with, like I feel like it was yesterday when I saw them when we graduated. You know, and whenever I see them, like whether it's downtown or whatever, you know, it's just like where we picked up. But it's because I still haven't seen you in like 4 or 5 years, except like I see you on my phone all the time because we keep up on social media. True. So it's really interesting how like time, just the concept of time is just wild. How it goes by so quickly in the blink of an eye. You don't even know about it.
We really went in deep on this one.
It's crazy.
I'm for it.
Yeah.
I'm for it.
How do you say like you've evolved like in your personal life and in your creative life, like whether like over your entire career, but I don't know, just like recently, like how have you changed and grown?
I'm sure in ways I don't even know yet. Like you can only connect the dots going backwards. You just don't really know. I think I'm way more confident than I've ever been. I'm way more secure in what I'm doing and what I can do and like just where I'm at. So I'm a little less scared, but still trying to make sure I'm on the right path and going forward. So it's always for me an ebb and a flow. I don't know where I'm at this particular second, but I just know I'm on the right path. I'm just trusting.
Right on.
Do you feel like you've had good support from your family? Like, have they always been like?
They don't even. I like they know what I do, but they don't know what I do. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Yeah.
like hard to explain. And the way it happened, it doesn't make sense. It's like, hey mom, I'm gonna go on tour with this rapper. Be safe. Like, what are you supposed to say? You don't understand. It's like,
Drink
like,
water.
He wants to bring me on the team. Okay, like, are you safe? Like, it's always just that. Yeah, drink
Yeah.
water.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course. Like, I tell this to people all the time. Like, again, in a way, I'm not supposed to have these opportunities or be where I'm at, especially coming from where we come from. Like, it just doesn't happen. So of course there's pride there, but I could have worked down the block, had a full-time job with insurance, and like my family would have been happy too, which I think I hated. I think that was like really, I was like, I want more for me than you want for me, like in a way. So I always knew I had to get after it and like do more. And I still feel that way. So yeah, of course they're supportive. There was probably a time when my mom was really scared for me when I was like, I'm not going to college and I don't care, you know, or like I worked at a warehouse here for like 2 or 3 years. I got fired because I was riding around on the pallet jack. And she's like, but that was your job. Like, what are you going to do now? And I'm like, I think I'm going to make movies and like move to California, you know? And it's like, that's a crazy thing to say, but
Yeah.
you know, obviously she had enough trust in me or whatever it was. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been great.
Do you have siblings that like?
Yeah, I got a sister.
Okay.
And she's older than me.
Did she go the college route?
Yeah, she did. She did. She got her degree. She was a teacher for a while. Now she just stays home with the kids. I have a niece and a nephew.
Got you. Do you ever feel like there will be a time where you do want to settle down and kind of
for
like
sure.
move on from this lifestyle?
I mean, yeah, I trust it. I don't know when or what that is, but like my thing is I've always like, I just want to live in the woods and build furniture. I don't know when that's going to happen. I don't know where that'll be, but yeah, I mean, nothing's forever, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's dope. So where do you see yourself in 2, 5, and 10 years?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. If you would have asked me that a year ago, the last thing I would have told you is what I'm doing now. So like, I don't know. I just know that I'm going to keep working hard. I know that wherever I'm next is going to have an abundance of whatever it is that I want and need, and like that it's right, you know? So
That's a good mindset to have.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, hopefully somewhere warm.
How about a month? Where do you see yourself in a month?
A month from now, I'll be in Europe. Yeah.
That's
What
awesome.
I know that much.
What Action Brunson? Or?
Yeah. We're doing a collaboration with New Balance, so it'll be coming out.
Yo.
Oh, that's fire.
I don't know. Life will take me where it takes me.
That's always the hardest question we ask
Yeah,
people is
honestly.
that question, because it's like a lot happens in a decade.
The only one that had a for sure answer was Jacob, because he's like, I'm gonna be a dad and I want a new pickup and a boat.
That's amazing. I envy that, you know?
I feel like as creatives, like we just never know. Like we know that we're moving in the right direction. When
Yeah,
we're
you
doing
gotta trust
things,
it.
I would have
but-
never guessed I would have been in Des
Yeah.
Moines 18 months ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Just gotta live on the fly and just go with the flow.
That's the best feeling. That's the best feeling ever, especially for me, not knowing what's next.
Yeah.
Mark, you already asked the question, like, what could you tell a younger version of you? But like, for anyone who might be tuning in, being like, man, I don't know where I fit in this world, whether it's like with management or with, you know, making furniture. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just some kid from Iowa. What would you tell them to like, I don't know, like a little bit of advice?
Try new stuff. Like
Yeah.
find out what you're good at, you know, find out what you like. I think that the easier thing is like, what do I not want to do? I didn't want to work at a warehouse forever. I'm not knocking that. It just wasn't for me. Right. Like I knew that I didn't want to commit to photography as like my thing, but I tried it and I feel like I was good at it. Like find out what you don't want to do. And someday, somehow, like there'll be a thing and you'll know, you know, but like, if you're not trying new stuff, you'll never find out. So
Yeah.
Cool.
That's really good. Should we get into the last question?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we end every episode with what is something that has inspired us this past week or this past month, just anything recent.
Cool.
And our guest, you'll go last just so you can get your thoughts going and
Sure.
start thinking of some stuff. So who wants to go first?
You, Noah.
All right.
Yeah, go for it.
So I don't know if y'all are into Dune at all, the movie, but that Dune 2 trailer dropped and that was gas. That was fire. I'm really excited for that movie because that director is one of my favorites. I don't really know how to pronounce his last name, but I believe it's Denis Villeneuve, and he directed Blade Runner 2049.
Yep.
Obviously, like Dune. I just love like visually, like the scale, like everything seems bigger. I don't know how he does it, but the color grading, just like the vibe of his movies are just immaculate, man. I love it. So yeah, the Dune trailer was really good. I'm really excited for that.
It's dope. I have a couple, but the first one is what's inspired me lately is Precious. I office out of there part-time, and there's some cool things on the rise with that. That's all I can really be at liberty to say, but like Seth, hopefully we'll have him on the pod soon, but just he provides a super sick environment for like just a variety of creatives and is very welcoming. The space is dope and some exciting things are coming soon with that. Other than that, Matty Hapoya has posted a couple of new YouTube videos lately, and he just bought a RE Mini Alexa LF, and that like rig is $100,000. And him talking about like his journey of like just like where he started with filmmaking with his Travel Feels YouTube video to, you know, self-branding to like being a traveling content creator, commercial content creator. And now he has like a full, you know, like top of the line cinema setup. It like inspired me to be like kind of this mindset of like, all right, like why can't that be me? You know, in a sense, maybe it will be, maybe it won't be, maybe that's in the cards. I don't know. But like, I would have never thought I would own like the gear that I have now. Like whenever I first started, I'd be like, yeah, I'll never spend that kind of money on a camera. Who needs that? And now looking back, it's like, how did I get here? You know? And I've gotten to where I have become as a creative in a pretty short amount of time, I'd say. And so it's just like inspired me to be like, just keep going, you know, like just keep on shooting. Doesn't even matter whether it's just like on a point and shoot, whether it's on my iPhone or whether it's on my full rig, you know, just get out and shoot. So
yeah, mine is the homie Joseph Beck. He's been dropping a lot of just like short videos lately.
Also with the Alexa.
the RLS.
LF.
Yeah, he's just a dope guy, kind of like an inspiration to me, because just his style and his approach to everything. I had an opportunity to shoot with him a couple of times, but yeah, he's just been dope, posting dope content.
Yeah, shout out Joe. We'll have him on soon, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Please, Joe.
All right, Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's been being here. You know, it's always nice to come back and be around familiar faces, and like even just Sekou and Tobias and I riding over here. It was like convoy, and it was like reminiscent of the old days when we used to, you know, do that all the time and like create and make new stuff. And yeah, it's just good to be around, see how things have changed and how things haven't. So
yeah, that's awesome, man.
That's dope.
Thanks for coming through, bro.
of course,
Yeah,
this is great.
man.
This is good.
Yeah.
I haven't done this in a long time. Like then the last time I sat in front of a camera and a mic was AV Club in like 2018. So
Wow.
Man, that's crazy.
man.
yeah,
Man.
but
Yeah.
no, this is good. This is
Y'all gotta
this
go
is dope.
check that out too.
Yeah, for
Send it
sure.
to 'em.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's old, but it's still out there.
It's the quality,
I've
though.
seen it a couple of times.
The quality's there. It's
Yeah,
fire.
again, it's like I sound boastful, but we had a 3-camera setup on a fluid head. Like it was dope.
I feel like y'all were ahead of your
It
time.
was just a 2-chair setup, right?
yeah, it's like me
Yeah,
and
I
Shaka
remember.
Davis or
Yeah.
whoever, like just sitting there talking. Yeah, but shout out to Tobias and Sekou for sure for producing and executive producing that. Like, yeah, it was one of the coolest things I've done.
Did you shoot? I know Sekou did a boxing video.
Yeah, we did
you
Product
shoot
of My
that?
Environment.
Yeah,
That was
fire,
next
yeah.
level. That's what I'm saying. Is like I just feel like there's heritage and legacy to some of that older stuff we did, and it sucks we can't do it more, but we're trying to. So
Y'all were ahead of your time.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
that's dope.
Credit to them. But yeah, it's cool. We're around. We're here.
Yeah.
Hold up. Do you ever think you'll move back to Des Moines at some point? No?
No shot. I mean, for what? Like, the only thing like I'm really intrigued in that we're working on now is like I want to bring some of the elements of what I experienced in New York and things that are inspiring me back here. I don't know what that exactly will look like, but we're gonna do some DJ sets and get some stuff together with the right people and try to make something. So maybe it's not me coming back here in that way, but like we're gonna let people know that we're still doing AV Club and Project My Environment and Vibe and all these things like just in different ways. It's the new thing. So
dope. Glad we can make it happen.
Yeah, man. Thanks for being on. Thanks for being flexible.
Keep doing this. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. This is a wrap.
Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you.